think a lot of times so many people are like, they are stuck in like this self-sabotage cycle, right? And so first they have to admit that they are worthy of the goal, because so many people will set a goal to lose, like, 50 pounds, 100 pounds, have six-pack abs, be a millionaire, whatever, but they don't truly see themselves at the goal. Okay. And so what happens is, they set this goal, but then 30 minutes later, they're still showing up as the person that they are today, instead of the person that they want to become. And so a lot of self-sabotage happens, with the decisions they're making, the choices they're making, the words they say to themselves, or, whatever it may be. And they continue on this same pattern. So one of the first things that we have to really, really work on is, and I'll tell them this, like, you have to decide that you can achieve this.
Welcome to Queen Bold EQ podcast, where I share with you the mindset, energetics, emotional intelligence, and habits required to transform your health and manifest your dream body. I'm your host, Lauren Saracione, a 20-plus year fitness professional, lifelong entrepreneur, and I have self-healed my chronic pain and my emotional eating. And I am here to share with you the spiritual and the practical so you can transform your health and manifest your dream body.
Hey everyone, I'm really excited about today's guest. This is episode number 16 of Queen Bold EQ. And this woman is also in fitness, and we have like a lot of like on the other end of the fitness business, so many things in common, such a small world. And so I'm so excited to bring her here to talk with us. And I'm going to be asking her questions, even on my behalf, on my quest to a six-pack, which like eventually my body's going to look more and more like yours. Like that's the goal. So I'm going to play for everybody who's like on that starting journey. But first of all, Katie, introduce yourself. Let us know a little bit about you. You're a fempreneur in fitness, totally hot.
Yes.
Tell us all.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much for having me, Lauren. I'm Kattie Fleece, and you can find me on Instagram at fleece_fitness. I also just started a new page. It's just at Biz Building Bestie. But anyways, I am mainly, I've built a fitness empire, maybe, so to speak. I mean, at least I call it that. So whatever, that's what we're going to call it. But basically I help, busy women transform their bodies from the inside out. There's so much more that goes into it other than just, looking fit and fierce and all of the things. There's so many other things that play into it, mindset and childhood trauma. Like there's so much, but it's pretty cool to get to do what I'm able to do. I've been in the industry for like 20 years. I'm like, it feels like 75 years sometimes, but no, it's all good. Clients are awesome, but that's really truly where I thrive, is just in helping women, not only on their fitness journey, but watching them transform like in all other areas of their life, because it's crazy to see once you really start taking care of your body and nourishing your body and making that a just part of your lifestyle. It's amazing to see how that trickles down in other areas of your life, which to me is even more exciting than the actual physical transformation. So that's a little bit about me, what I do. I'm also a busy mom of two. My kids are actually home from school today. They have a random Monday off, and they also have like Friday and next Monday off. So I'm like, anyways, so they're home. I'm a busy wife too. My husband also does the fitness thing, but for men, and a new dog mom. So
we got it covered. Had to include that one. I have a dog sitting on the other side of this computer right now.
Yeah, same. He's under here chewing on a bone.
Yeah. Oh my God. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So I'm like, I feel like I just need to dive right in, because
dive in, girl.
You even just said something that I was like, oh, that's interesting. So first of all, like for context of like the question, because I'm going to be like the woman who like didn't know how to push myself. Like, even though I was in fitness, I was in communities where it was like, not what you look like, it's what you can do. And the Pilates community was a very different community than fitness.
Right.
Where you're looking to create a certain look,
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like I've been on, like, I'm just now like in the aesthetic zone. I
Mhm.
just now started doing bodybuilding type stuff in the last like 5 to 7 months. And so
Mhm.
for me, I feel like Aladdin, like it's a whole new world,
Yeah.
like, and it feels different, like your attitude, like it's just a whole different vibe. And so I'm thinking from that perspective of looking at a woman with your physique, we think, oh my God, this is like her top priority. And the reason why I'm like touching on this is because when you were talking about when you make fitness a part of your life, I thought for sure you were about to say priority. I was like, oh, well, that's an interesting choice of words because part of sounds more like you're not going to be like so strict where we see someone who looks like you and we're like, oh, clearly she has no life. And like, this is all she's
Right.
doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
I
Yes.
think there's so many, women in particular, I think kind of get stuck in that mindset of like a hard start and a hard stop type thing. Like I'm going to do this for 12 weeks and then I'm done. And that is where most people tend to fall off the wagon, is because they do go into a program or whatever it may be, a challenge or, whatever, with a hard stop in mind. And then what happens is they just continue down this vicious cycle, and then they get frustrated and they're like, well, I can lose the 20 pounds, but I gain it all back. And it's because of that mindset, right? Whereas if you go into it and you zoom out and you're like, no, this is just part of who I am. This is part of what I do. This is part of my life. I'm not just in it for 90 days or 6 weeks or whatever. And so when you can really look at it like that, I mean, people would be amazed actually of what I have trained my body to be able to handle. Like I literally just had Chick-fil-A nuggets right before here, and not the grilled kind. You know what I mean? It's like, so I think a lot of people automatically assume like, oh, she has no life. She tracks every macro that goes into her body. And I'm not just talking about me. I'm talking about when people see fit people in general, or, they live in the gym, they spend 3 hours a day in the gym. And, yes, that is true for some people, but I guarantee you that there people that do that, they haven't even made it a lifestyle. You know what I mean? Because that's only so maintainable for so long. Whereas when you can look at it as like, all right, every single day, I'm just going to move my body. I'm going to fuel it with, mostly healthy stuff and maybe not so healthy stuff. And it's all perfect. And when you can take the timeline off of your goal, like you would be amazed at what you can actually achieve. And you're going to end just having that mindset alone, you're ending the hamster wheel of, the dieting, the body fat and the weight loss and the weight gain. You're ending all of that.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. And I think I'm somebody who gets like stuck on the dot,
Yeah.
that's part of my personality. And so just to hear your language of, you didn't say priority, you said part. And I
Yeah.
think that's a big distinction to, I think it's really a huge distinction.
I think too, just like developing that discipline. So for me, it is about discipline, right? Because I know that even like if I'm going to take a vacation with my kids, which I do a lot, we travel a lot, like it is still a part of my daily life, even on vacation. Now it may look different. It may look like, all right, maybe I can only get in 10,000 steps because maybe the hotel gym is not ideal or whatever. But every single day I am disciplined, and I have trained myself to be disciplined in this one area. And why that is important is because so many people, I think, underestimate the power of building discipline in this area of your life, because you would be amazed how being disciplined in, your workouts and moving your body and fueling your body and all of the things, how that carries over into things like your career, your relationships. Like the discipline is where it's at for me. Like that to me is one thing that if I could take any lesson out of what getting like toned AF, I don't know, like I just say toned because that's that's the word everybody uses, but
This is just a word. We know what it means.
yeah. But if I could extract one lesson out of looking the way I do, it's discipline and learning how to apply it in other areas.
Yeah. Well, gosh, now you're like making my inner child light bulbs go off. And
Right?
yeah, yeah. So, okay. So it's like I always feel like I'm on this line. Like in my fitness career, it was like I'd go to a powerlifting thing and be the most flexible. I'd go to the Pilates thing and be but it never really felt like, and I would always ask all these questions and kind of be like the odd man out because I would be comparing and contrasting all the time. And I think I was incredibly annoying to a lot of people. But it
Mhm.
was just like, I just wanted to know, like, what are the differences?
Yeah.
And so I feel like I'm in the same kind of realm with like physical 3D, let's get shit done type of a culture. And then also the spiritual culture where it has like a lot of like lean back energy and like let things come to you and everything.
Mhm.
And so the word discipline and everything that goes into discipline, that evokes a rebellious attitude or a shame attitude that is unconscious that, that we picked up. And so I'd really love for you to talk about like what do you think is like the mental or an emotional stuff that you learn from discipline, because it is a trigger, like
Yeah.
especially if we're exhausted, depleted, or like not, we're being too extreme.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what's so funny is I was literally having a conversation with my husband the other day at dinner. We went out for Valentine's Day, and I was talking about like, even like you talk a lot about food, right? And nutrition and all of that. And it's interesting because how many times, and I say like childhood trauma, and I don't mean like you had to have a bad childhood, right? But like there are certain things that we are taught as kids. So for instance, how many of you, because this is how I was raised and I had wonderful parents, how many of you were taught you don't get up from the dinner table until you clear your plate? You know what I mean? And so it's like we're trained as children, like I have to literally clear my plate. For us, it was because we were poor as hell, like, and so it was like, you either eat that or you don't eat because that's all we got. And so it's like, learning that, and also some of the poor relationship that I had in the beginning from food really stemmed from that, because I was taught, no, you clear your plate and then you get to have dessert. You know what I mean? And so I think a lot of people can just think of certain things that have happened in their childhood or teenage years or early 20s or whatever, that really explains like the relationship they have with certain things, whether it's food, whether it's your body. And like you said, with even discipline, like you've learned that that's almost like not a bad word, but a trigger word. So I would encourage you to be like, okay, well, what triggers you about that specific word? Like, was there something that happened, that you may not even really realize? But again, it's like all of that comes up and you later realize like, oh, that is why discipline, that's why that word is such a, it's like a cuss word almost.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
Yeah, and I think that like the reason why I was mentioning of like how I feel like in my life where it's like always in these two extremes, like I find
Yeah.
myself in extreme scenarios, which is just part of my chart, like it's part of like how I'm designed.
Yeah.
And what I was thinking too, like to expand on that, was that in the spiritual community, or at least, okay, so with my history with fitness, it was like I really didn't know what I was doing in the beginning part. Then I got into Pilates. Then when I got into like neurology type stuff and strength training, it was like train smarter, not harder. And then got
Yeah.
into the movement people and all of that kind of like neuro people. And by the time I got into heavy lifting, it was strong is the new skinny, not what
Mm,
you look like. I kind of went into that community of like heavy lifters.
yeah.
And there was this part of like where if you were disciplined to look a certain way, it was frowned upon because you were like giving into society and giving into diet culture and shame. And so
Yeah.
that's what I was thinking, like that rebellious inner child can also come up of discipline because we think it's about a structure or a construct, when it's like, actually, if you want your clothes to fit in this way or whatever, discipline's not a bad thing. And I
Yeah.
think that kind of like we're not allowed to, like it seems like, at least like where I've been, it's like you're not allowed to look sexy, or you're not allowed to look muscular. It's like breaking out of that community. is how I'm feeling.
For sure. I think too, a lot of it has, because there's so many stigmas, I think, to the way you look, and people make all sorts of assumptions. But I think it also goes back to, the trends in the fitness industry. Like, there for a while, the trend was, at least where I'm from, like everybody was doing a bodybuilding show. Like everybody was doing a bodybuilding show. And we all know, I mean, whether you've done one or you haven't, and you're not even sure exactly what I'm talking about, but to some extent, we know that in order to do that, you do have to be very, very strict. Very strict. You're literally weighing and calculating everything. You have to be very strategic about all of the things you do. More than likely, probably have to spend hours in the gym, only to get off stage and, gain 10 pounds overnight. Like literally that's a very common thing. And so I think too, a lot, when you say things like discipline, to me, that my mind used to go to that. Well, if I want to look like I do today, then I'm going to have to train like that. And that it's like one of those things where it's like, okay, do I really want to do that? And I've competed before, and it was terrible. And also I will say this, I actually look better now than I did when I competed. And I am a busy mom now with 2 very busy children. And I spend like half that time inside of the gym and tracking my food and all of that, because I figured out how to make it a part of my life and not just a, 14-week thing or whatever. But I do think, just like even in the bodybuilding world, there's so much, like so many, what's the word I'm looking for? It's just like, we are taught, even, in the early 90s, like it was like Jane Fonda, and like, that was the thing, you know what I mean? Like in order to look like that, you had to do all of this cardio and the thigh master and the, whatever. So I think too, it's just like, there's so much, so many assumptions made off of, certain things. And I think it really just depends on what you're used to and what you grew up with, but a lot of people don't realize that, holy shit, I can actually look this way and feel this good and just be like, an everyday busy woman. I don't have to be competing in a show, or I don't have to be like, going on vacation in 6 weeks for me to be able to take my goals seriously. Like I could just do this all year long.
Yeah, I know. And it's like when I would have clients who would say, well, I can't work out 4 days a week. I can't do this. I'm like, 2 days a week or 1 day a week for the rest of your life. You're going to have this outcome long term. And it's so true. And I see that, like, now I'm going to the gym 6 days a week. I just really enjoy it. I enjoy that I can move without being in pain. And I'm like, oh my God, like what is happening? Like I'm enjoying the process of like aesthetically changing. But before that, it was like 3 to 5 times a week. And sometimes like I would get into a crunch where it was like the workouts, you had to put them in the morning or in the beginning of the week because you had a busy schedule down there. And I think that trips people up a lot, that like, if it doesn't look perfectly of a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday, then we're done.
Yeah. Yes. And here's the thing, what I always tell people, like, look, you're always going to be busy. There's always going to be things that come up, and, some weeks are going to look better than others. There are going to be weeks where maybe you can make it into the gym 6 days a week. There's going to be other weeks where you'd be lucky if you got there 2 days a week. It doesn't, I think people overthink this. Like it doesn't always have to be in the gym. You know what I mean? Like you could still do things to move your body, whether it's go for a walk. Like walking is the most underrated exercise like ever. Clean house, like, literally anything except for, sit at your desk all day. Like whether that's getting one of those walking pads under your treadmill or literally anything. It doesn't have to necessarily be in the gym. And the other thing too, that so many people overlook is, okay, maybe you don't have 45 minutes to carve out to actually go to the gym or get a workout in at home, but what you can control is what goes into your body. And that is really to where I think a lot of people forget, like, oh yeah, a lot of what I am seeing is because of how I am choosing to fuel it. And make no mistake, I'm not saying you need to eat chicken and rice and broccoli every single day for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Again, not sustainable. at least for me anyway, but you can make better choices. So if there's going to be a day where, like you're not going to get much movement in, it's just like literally impossible for you because of, whatever reason, be more mindful of, okay, well, did I get enough protein in today? Did I drink my water? Again, it doesn't have to be so complicated.
Yeah. I love this. Yeah. This is such a good reminder. I want to talk about your business. Because I think too, like we're riffing like as like fitness people, right? And like,
Yeah.
we're talking, we love it. We're like in it. So I want to talk about your business because I know that you've shifted things since you sold your brick and mortar, but then also like some of the things that go into, being a business owner and not taking your stress out on your body. Like I want to talk to the person who's like, maybe not a fitness professional, feel that conversation.
Yeah. I think too, owning a business. So, basically just a little recap. I have been a longtime business owner. I opened a brick and mortar gym back in 2015. And at the end of 2022, I just sold it. And it was bittersweet, but it was time, but it was awesome because I built up an actual business that was actually sellable, which, if you don't know, this thing called COVID happened and it wasn't very friendly to gyms. So the fact that I was able to still build a profitable business and then sell it was honestly like, that is something I'm actually really, really proud of. Just because, we had a hard time, gyms in general. But anyways, so one thing that I had learned, just by owning that, and I still obviously own my own business because everything is online now. So I still do the whole fitness thing, but I also do like business coaching, business mentoring type thing. So I still own a business and I still stay very, very busy with that. One thing that I see so many people slide on is their fitness, and not even just their fitness, but their well-being, right? Because as business owners, as entrepreneurs, our minds typically, at least mine, never shut off. Like they don't stop. They don't stop. And you've got a to-do list 1,000,000 miles long. And the first thing to go for a lot of people is their workout or their water or their steps. Like, no, I gotta, I'm going to work till 5 a.m. and, until 10 p.m. at night. And then I'm going to get 6 hours of sleep and I'm going to repeat and do the same thing every single day. Okay, that's fine. But sooner or later, you're going to crash and burn. And, one thing I want to say about that too, is it's just like, I did that in the beginning because I was a brand new, even though I had been in the industry for a long time, I was a new business owner. Like I'd never owned a gym. And I remember I would put in those hours. I mean, I literally would be at that gym, at 5 a.m. and I would be there training clients, teaching classes, whatever, till 8:30 p.m. And I remember having so many health issues. And my doctor was like, oh, okay, cool. So you're in full blown adrenal fatigue now. Yeah. Congratulations, and you need to rest. And I'm like, what? No, I can't rest. I'm an entrepreneur. What? It didn't work like that. So I will say this, and I know a lot of times, especially new entrepreneurs, new business owners, you do put a lot of time in, especially in the beginning, and that is required. But I will say, do not let your health slip, because there may come a time where you literally crash and burn like I did, and your doctor says, no more.
Well, yes. I'm laughing so hard because okay. First of all, I'm laughing because I reached that point. And I went to like somewhere over the hill, like in Santa Monica or Wilshire or whatever. And it was like this place where it was like Ayurvedic medicine. And I like tell them how I'm feeling. And then they like lay me in this thing. You're like a tea bag, like inside this like thing that like is hot. And then they had the oil like slowly. And like I was so messed up that like it just hurt laying there. And this was like really before like my major neck problems. Yeah. And I'm like, get me out of here. And then I have a conversation with the person and he's asking me everything that was going into my business. And he's like, so what can you let go of? And I'm like, huh? Like, what?
Yeah.
Yes.
You know what, really quick too on that thing, I think so many, and I work with a lot of, on the fitness side, I work with a lot of business owners or entrepreneurs or just like CEOs, boss babes, whatever you want to call them. And I will say this too, when you can develop discipline in your body and in your health, like when I said in the beginning, like it trickles down into every other thing that you do, like you would be amazed at how many of them actually make more money now, or they show up as a better leader, as a better boss. Like there's so many things that just by taking care of yourself and, filling your cup, like you're just a nicer person too. You know what I mean? Like you're easier to work for, like you're more creative, you're more clear-headed, like all of those things, like they kind of go hand in hand, really, and I even tell my clients that are entrepreneurs on the business side of things that aren't even part of my fitness program, like we talk about taking care of their bodies, and whether that's and that doesn't even necessarily mean like working out, like yes, of course that's part of it, but I'm like, hey, have you taken a day off? Have you turned your phone off?
You're really reading my mind, because
Yeah.
that was going to be my next question. Cause it's like, when we're on the outside of it, like I said, like we're on the outside, I spent so much time like in the mental and emotional and like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like that end of things. And so to be strong, like I could be committed to be strong, but like, it's a different commitment to like build an aesthetic and really like,
Yeah.
put in those reps and stuff. Right. So I keep feeling like I need to give you context every time I ask you these questions, because this is a new era for me.
Sure.
One of the things I was reading in human design, a personality profiling system, was talking about how we're going to come into more of what they call the water eye, or the goal is to have more of the water eye instead of the fire eye, which is the feminine energetics of like self-care and taking a break. And so I was thinking, while you were talking about all the discipline stuff, what is the stuff that like where you're looking at self-care as like a nurturing, or like, like how do you bring that energy in, or how do you feel about that?
Oh, like literally you have to. And again, I've learned this the hard way, but it is so freeing, whether you're, a busy mom or you own a company or both, you've got to learn to fill your cup. And like I said, that doesn't always mean like getting a workout in, although for me that does fill my cup. But sometimes that looks like leaving my phone in the other room, or turning off notifications, or just turning my phone off, or taking a day and I'm like, all right, I'm clearing my calendar for the day. I don't have anything work related. Like if I do things that are work related, it's because I want to, not from a place of I have to get this done. Maybe that means like you just set a boundary for yourself to not work on weekends, or to only work until 3 p.m. Like that is a boundary that I actually have in place. Because, it's like my kids go to school, they get home at 3, and then I need to be done. Anything else is just extra. And it's because I want to do it, or, maybe I'm at a sporting practice or whatever, and I'm getting things done, while they're there. But like, take those like really take a look at your life and where you can make this like a non-negotiable, because so many times we don't set those boundaries in the beginning. And then we end up, 1 year from now, like being totally burnt out. We want to burn our business to the ground because we don't have any boundaries in place, and we hate it. We hate our clients. We resent our clients. You know what I mean? We resent ever starting the business. It's because we didn't set those clear standards from the start.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And it's really making me feel like that self-care, self-love,
Yeah.
self, like, do you have like internal journey moments where like you hit a new understanding of like what this connection was that you were building with yourself? Because in the beginning you talked about having a transformation from the inside out. And for me, like, that's it. Like you can't have the physical form without your energy behind it. And your energy is how you feel. It's like, did you have body image or relationship inner journeys that you can share with us?
So, it's so funny. is actually the last time I competed. I'm going to go back to this. So the last time I competed was around, I think it was right before I actually opened my facility. And I remember getting on stage. I looked good, and it was in May. And that summer, I went to a water park with my children and I wore a t-shirt to cover up because I thought I was fat. Now keep in mind, I was 120 pounds. Okay. I was not fat, but I wasn't show lean. And it was at that moment where I was so embarrassed about my body at 120 pounds. Okay. That I had a come to Jesus moment. And I was like, this is not right. This is not right. Actually, that was the moment I decided to never compete again because I was not prepared for the mental toll that it would actually take on me. Okay. So there was one moment, that was the moment I think that I can clearly remembering okay, you've got to stop obsessing because now it's controlling you. It wasn't a lifestyle at that point. It had always been a part of my life, but then it was just on another level that just was not sustainable for me. And what I realized is all that caused me. And by the way, if you're a competitor listening to this, I'm not knocking competing at all. But it does take a very special person to do that. And I think so many people do not talk about the mental strain that it takes you down, or the poor body image issues that that stuff is not talked about, when you aren't walking around show lean all the time. But anyways, it was at that moment at the water park where I was like, this is ridiculous. No more, I am not competing and I've got to figure out a way to just do this and also be comfortable in my body without this image of what I think it should look like. And I have to stop obsessing, And so that I think was one of the moments where I realized okay, this is not what I'm doing right now. And even just the self-talk that I'm, the words and the things that I'm saying to myself, that is not okay. Saying things like you're fat or you're ugly or, just I would literally go, ugh, and look in the mirror when I would say that out loud. I was like, that's not okay. I've got a daughter and I don't want her doing that. I don't ever want her speaking those words to herself. And then also, I shared earlier, at the very beginning of my entrepreneur journey of being an actual business owner of literally my body just started to shut down because I was overworking myself, and so, and I mean, actually my doctor was like, you can't teach any more classes. And I was like, I own a group fitness studio. What do you mean I can't teach any more classes? He's like, nope, you can't, literally. And, but anyways, I think a lot of times things like that have to happen in order for us to wake up and be like, oh, okay, fine. And so I think both of those moments were a moment, that served as a wake up call to me, and then I realized, and I took more seriously, stopped putting so much pressure on myself. And number one, make rest a priority. Rest is a priority. What? It is a priority and it has to be in order for your body to function the way that it should. And even in order for your body to get toned muscles and six-pack abs, rest needs to be in the equation. And so many people overlook that, I'll just outwork everybody in the room. Well,
yeah.
Who says that's a good thing? You know what I mean? When it comes to your body, you've got to learn to also listen to it.
Yeah.
And I don't even know what your question was, but
yeah, I know. Well, no,
I just went off. Oh my gosh.
No, that inner journey, because it's when I learned stuff about Dr. John Sarno of the divided mind and how the subconscious mind is creating this pain, it's called myofascial tension syndrome or something. And it's what Dr. called it, whatever. And so it just when I'm looking at stuff as mechanically, and then I'm oh, but the common word is self. It's self-love, self-unification, self-care. And so I just really wanted to hear how, what aha moments you had in that reconnection with self, and to be so far in the extreme of now that I'm not show lean, there's a problem here. And it's like, no, to keep coming back home to yourself.
Yeah. I will say this too, like I've seen just the way that it's like by taking care of myself. And I think so many women are going to be able to relate to this, but it's like we are almost, I don't know if it's the way we're raised or just the way I think society kind of like tells us what we should be, but it's like a bad thing to take care of yourself. And it's, you know, you need to be in the kitchen, you need to be doing laundry, like you need to be taking care of the kids, you need to work a 9 to 5, you need to do like blah, 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 blah. And so it's like, a lot of times women just view self-care or taking care of themselves as a bad thing. And I'm here to tell you, it's actually the complete opposite. I mean, I can't tell you how much better I show up as a human, you know, whether it's to my kids as a mom or to my husband as a wife, as a leader to my team, as, you know, a sibling to my brother and sister, as a daughter, you know, like you just show up so much more, I mean, what's the word I'm looking for? Like you're just a better human because you're not so freaking drained. And when you are drained and you don't fill your own cup and you don't take care of yourself, you show up as that version of yourself, you know? And I know I work with a lot of moms in particular who struggle with this very thing. And I hear things like, oh my gosh, like not only am I physically looking better, but I'm showing up with a better attitude, with more patience. I like want to go play with my kids out in the yard. Like it's crazy how it's like a big mental shift. Like, oh, okay. Self-care is not a bad thing. Self-care is not selfish like a lot of people think it is.
Yeah. Yeah. There's just like, there's so much here. I'm like, you know, I had, when I, like it doesn't happen so often right now, but like, there was a lot of like depression, you know, deep inner sadness that I would deal with. And when I was in 2020, when my whole life changed, I just basically walked, you know, like I was walking 6 miles a day because I would take one dog out on a time and just clear my head and be like, wow, like all of my striving, the world shut down. So where's this like, you know, battle to race myself to get somewhere when it, you know, there's so many things out of control. So I did like so much processing when I would walk and just like think about what I wanted for my life. And when I started to look at self-care in a different way, because I was really trying to clear stuff that was stored in my body, one of them was I would have a mental checklist. If I felt myself start to get depressed, I'd be like, did you walk? Did you drink water? And like, I would go through a list of self-care and I'm like, okay, Lauren, there's nothing to be upset about. And I actually would have to like create that inner dialogue, but it was backed with the self-care checklist of my needs are met. You're imagining stress right now. There's no big deal. And I felt like, to your point, like it may, you know, the internal dialogue shifted for me a lot.
Yeah. For
That
sure.
self-care dedication.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you're working with people who are just getting started, like what is like the biggest thing that you see people that are like really having to struggle with, or even inner child stuff, like the deeper stuff? Who do you find like, where's their struggle?
So I think a lot of times, so many people are like, they are stuck in like this self-sabotage cycle, right? And so first they have to admit that they are worthy of the goal, because so many people will set a goal to lose like, you know, 50 pounds, 100 pounds, have 6-pack abs, you know, be a millionaire, whatever, but they don't truly see themselves at the goal. Okay. And so what happens is, you know, they set this goal, but then 30 minutes later, they're still showing up as the person that they are today instead of the person that they want to become. And so a lot of self-sabotage happens, you know, with the decisions they're making, the choices they're making, the words they say to themselves, or, you know, whatever it may be. And they continue on this same pattern. So one of the first things that we have to really, really work on is, you know, and I'll tell them this, like, you have to decide that you can achieve this. Because if you're gonna say, like, anybody can say, or anybody can set a goal, literally anybody. Okay. But it takes a very special person to actually achieve that. And so you have to meet the frequency, right? Like, you cannot continue to show up as the person you are today if a year from now you want to be here, And so that's a lot of the language that they use, and just like the mental block of just deciding, like, no, holy shit, I can have that. I literally can. I just have to do the actions it takes to actually get there. And that's what people don't realize. It's like, like, yeah, you just have to change your actions. And I think a lot of people are stuck there, because even though they may be really uncomfortable, like in their bodies and their skin and their clothes, it's still familiar. So to a certain extent, they are actually comfortable. You know what I mean? But I don't know that that's the right word. It's more of it's familiar, and change is scary. Right?
Yes, that was just amazing. I so appreciate that. And it's like, when on your bio it says fat loss genie, it like, this feels very genified. This feels very, like, I'm not even kidding. I mean, like, this, like, the power that you have in talking about the frequency, and here you are, and here you are, you have to meet that person. And that's exactly it. That's exactly it. I love this. I love this.
Yeah. I mean, that really is it. Like, it's literally, it's so simple, but yet so few will actually do it.
Yeah. And decide. It's another word to play with, that it's like to cut all of their options off. And it's like, once you decide that, and that, oh my gosh, and the worthy, everything. Well, okay. That's going to be the sound bite. That was like the most beautiful thing. I love that so much. So let everybody know how they can reach out to you or what you're working on.
Yes. So again, like I said at the beginning, I am on Facebook and TikTok and Instagram, but I hang out really mostly on Instagram. So find me over there at Fleece, which is my last name, _fitness. Or like I said, you can follow my new account if you're like a coach or entrepreneur or whatever, Biz Building Bestie. And I also have some freebies on both of those pages. So make sure to grab those, because they're really pretty freaking awesome, if I do say so myself. But yeah, come hang out, shoot me a story or a DM, like, let's chat. Also I have my own podcast, which your episode releases tomorrow, Lauren. So you can find that podcast. It's just at the Kattie Fleece Show, and Katie is spelled with 2 T's. So
yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. All of our ads everywhere.
Okay. I know, too many ads.
Too many ads. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Yes, girl.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you found it helpful, please share it on social media and tag me at It's Lauren Saracione and at Queen Bold EQ. You can just search my name, Lauren Saracione, on the IG, and you should find both of those handles, no problem. I'm going to leave you with a few little snippets of the ladies who were in the very first Queen's Gambit with me. The Queen's Gambit is my year-long transformation where I give you all the coaching you need for mindset, emotions, habits, diet, exercise, and self-care.
First of all, thank you for just giving of yourself and allowing us to be in this space today. That's been really amazing to just see like how much you're giving to us. So thank you for that.
Because I'm not gonna go shame myself anymore. I'm not gonna go fucking judge myself. I'm fucking over it. I'm so fucking done with that old game. It's just an old game. I'm not gonna play anymore.
Adding upper body has actually been really good. I enjoy it because I've always been so scared of it.
The energetic stuff like has been really great for me because I think that's like what my like soul was craving. Like I've been wanting to know more, but like where do I start? So this has been super great.
New identity, new person, new body.
And it was like, I could never get past certain plateaus, but this makes so much sense.
Exercises go really well. It's so much fun to have finally a gym.
I remember because it was so significant to me. That was after COVID. It was really difficult for me to go back because I had gained weight. I felt really heavy after having been lighter and through COVID and not working out. That day was really nice because you like encouraged me to like continue. When you told me, you're like, you're strong, sweetie, like you can go heavy, and I was like, really? That like helped me just kind of develop that confidence.
And I'm like, well, I'm gonna take responsibility for the mistake, but I'm not gonna like shaming or blaming or judging. It's not gonna help me take the responsibility. It just makes it like harder. So why the F should I? Like, make it hard for yourself. Come on.